Tánaiste powerful countries in the West, all of whom claim to value human rights and international law, have been revealed by the war in Gaza as immoral hypocrites. They only value international law when it's their enemies, not their allies, are in breach. Their shameful record in Gaza amounts to the normalisation of mass murder and devastation. They wag their fingers at the Israeli government occasionally, but continue to support them and to arm them. It's their bombs and their bullets that have killed more than 30,000 Palestinians. It's not just the United States that are engaged in this. Arms exports from Germany to Israel have increased tenfold since October. Weapons from Germany now make up nearly 30% of Israel's total military imports. Genocide is a nice little earner for the German arms industry. The UK has said that it has concerns that Israel may be breaching international human rights law, but those concerns have not stopped them selling weapons to Israel. Far from it. There has not been a single pause in supply. How much more suffering can people in Gaza endure? How much more death and destruction are Western countries willing to facilitate? Is there any upper limit? Any point at which world leaders will be sickened enough to act? Because Tánaiste children in Gaza who managed to survive an unprecedented bombardment are now dying of starvation. They're dying from hunger while thousands of trucks packed with food aid are lined up for miles at the border crossing. The Israeli government are denying entry to that aid. They are making a deliberate choice to starve these children. Let's not pretend otherwise. This isn't just callous and clinical, it is a flagrant breach of the recent ruling of the International Court of Justice. The ICJ ordered immediate and effective measures to protect Palestinians from genocide by ensuring sufficient humanitarian assistance to Gaza. The response of the Israeli government has been to reduce the supply of aid and starve the population. Their contempt for international law could not be clearer. Tánaiste, just because many countries in the West have lost their moral compass, it doesn't mean we have to. Given we are in a minority in advocating for Gaza, there is even more of an obligation on us to act. I've repeatedly acknowledged that the Irish government has been strong in its condemnation of Israel's brutality, but I and people all over Ireland are still waiting for you to follow those words with actions. As a sovereign country, there are things we could do that we don't need an international consensus for. The Dáil could sit over recess to enact the Occupied Territories Bill or the Illegal Israeli Settlement Divestment Bill. We could issue travel bans for violent Israeli settlers, including those in the Israeli government. We could recognise the state of Palestine. Tánaiste, will you do those things?
First of all, I would say we have. First of all, I'd say the most important point is Ireland has not lost its moral compass on this issue. I think we should agree on that in this House. And the situation in Gaza is absolutely catastrophic. And I agree with Josep Borrell, EU Vice President and head of the European foreign policy, when he said people should stop sending arms if they want an end to the conflict. And other countries should stop sending arms in order to bring an end to this conflict. Many countries are trying to bring an end to the conflict. And I know that. I have no doubt that many in the US want this to end. But Israel is reckless with its own allies. And Israel is reckless with the region. But above all, it's reckless in terms of the lives of ordinary Gazans and the people of Gaza. Absolutely reckless in terms of allowing what's happening to happen on a daily basis. And what we're witnessing is a complete collapse of cohesion, societal cohesion within Gaza. The shocking scenes last week when 100 people were killed, and clearly many had bullets fired by Israeli forces, but there should be an international investigation into that. But what that represented was the collapse of any order within the area in terms of facilitating distribution of aid, because Gazan police were targeted by Israeli forces when they were helping the UN agencies to distribute the food. And when I spoke to Sigrid Kaag, the UN envoy to the Middle East and to Gaza in particular, she said, without question, we are now in the midst of a collapse. The people are absolutely desperate in Gaza. Their situation is dire. Malnutrition is happening, children, and our priority has been an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. We have worked with the Palestinian Authority, Saudi Arabian Foreign Minister, Jordanian, Egyptian, and others to try and I sent officials over last week to Jordan to work with them in terms of the Arab peace plan that's emerging and that's imminent and that's important, and they're liaising with the US and they're liaising with the European Union. And that peace plan is an essential prerequisite, not a prerequisite, but it's essential in the context of any ceasefire that might happen over the next number of days, and we hope it does, because that has to happen. And then there has to be unimpeded access to aid. And Israel has responsibilities under international humanitarian law to protect the civilians at Gaza. Israel is not fulfilling in any shape or form that obligation as an occupying power, and is contributing to the death, obviously, in the bombardment of Gaza, but also in terms of the starvation of the people of Gaza. I welcome the fact that the European Union, and I think we did show leadership and action in respect of UNRWA. We were the first country, I think the only country out first, to say no pause to aid to UNRWA despite what happened and despite what other countries did. And then we followed that up quickly by meeting Felipe Lazzarini, allocating 20 million up front. The European Commission has now reversed its pause and has allocated funding and restarting funding. So that was cause and effect.
Deputy Cairns.
And for two, it's more words that don't even suggest being followed by any kind of actions. I think it's important to look back to it's 1984 when Dunnes Stores workers refused to stock the shelves in Dunnes Stores from products from apartheid South Africa. So never let it be said that a small country can't have an impact. Big or small, it's important in times like this that as a country we stand up and be brave. I've asked you, as a country, the things that we can do without international consensus, recognising the state of Palestine, enacting the Occupied Territories Bill or the Illegal Israeli Settlement Divestment Bill. Are you willing to match any of your words with any kind of action that could send a message, big or small, that could actually have an impact in the face of an impending genocide? Children are now starving. European countries are arming this massacre. What are you going to actually do? Spare me the words that are empty, and please tell me what actions you will take.
Deputy, my words are not empty. And I believe in substance in this issue, not words. And I've had a lot of words in this House and across the floor of this House. I'm about substance in this, and I'm about impact, and I believe Ireland can have impact, small and all as we are, and we are having impact. And we're one of the few countries that have already made a robust legal submission to the International Court of Justice in respect of the UN seeking an advisory opinion in terms of the illegality or the legality of Israel's occupation. And the Attorney General gave a very robust and very effective performance. That's action, Deputy. Very few other countries are doing that. I already outlined to you the action we've taken in respect of UNRWA. And in respect of recognition, I answered earlier in the House. And I said to you earlier, we are working, that's action, working with the Arab peace. And we've discussed this with them. What's the optimal time for recognition? When would it have most impacts? It's only something you can do once. You can only do it once. Okay, you can be, I'm telling you the best time, I believe the best optimal time is following the publication of the Arab Peace Initiative, and in terms of developing a political track whereby a number of European countries together could, on the back of that, and in tandem with that, that's far more effective. And I wish, Deputy, look, this idea of trying to score points or sort of suggesting you're more virtuous than everybody else in the House on this question, I think we need to dispense with that kind of approach here.
Thank you,
We all want this to end,
we're over time.
but I genuinely believe Ireland can have impact and we're using every possible form, diplomatic, legal, political, to end this and to have impact.